All right, it's Todd Owens, Capital Chaos TV, and we're honored tonight to have Mr. Chris Reifert from Autopsy and many other legendary metal bands. How you doing tonight, Chris?
Real good, man. Good to be here. Nice to see you again and be at the good old Metro again.
We're here for, I guess, day 2 of a 3-day California Death Fest put on by, I guess, the guys at Maryland Death Fest. So maybe briefly just tell how you got involved with this and how that all came about.
Well, we've worked with those guys several times before, both with Abscess on Autopsy and
Playing over in Maryland.
Yeah, Maryland. Yep, 2 times with each band actually, and they're real cool guys and know what they're doing and have a good thing going. And so Ryan reached out to us and said, "Hey, we're doing a West Coast version. Are you guys interested in that?" And it's pretty easy to make that decision. I mean, those guys do it right, and we're 25 minutes from home right now.
Sweet, yeah. It's great that they finally all these. Sometimes jealous of the East Coast get all these great shows and stuff, so it's great to have something out here on the West Coast.
I think we need this. You know, there's been, some really good, West Coast fests and stuff, and, continue, to be that way. But this is a really good one, and I think this is good for us over here. It's about time
we've got Ghoul playing behind us right now, and Impale coming up later, and, of course, the mighty Autopsy. All right, so great to finally have you on here to talk to you a little bit. And I just wanted to do won't spend too much time, but a little career retrospective. So start out back in the early days, and obviously on the first Death album you were involved with that, and maybe just back to the early days a little bit. You were in the Bay Area and how the scene was about and how you guys got influenced and all that.
Well, that's a pretty vast subject. What do you want to know?
All right, well, I guess specifically Death and Chuck and your involvement with that and the Scream.
How I got into that. Well, I had a friend who was running a local radio. Well, not running. A friend who was DJing at a local radio station, and they were going to run this ad saying, musicians needed for the new lineup of Death or something like that. And I got the word on that early, maybe even before the ad aired. I think so. And I thought, there's no way it's the same Death because I've already been collecting the demos, and it's, I love this band, and I got the phone number, and I called it, and Chuck answered the phone, and it was like, okay, it's really actually
the same,
So, just sort of hit it off, and I told him what bands I liked, and went over and jammed a little bit, and that was pretty much it. I don't think I had much competition, though, to be honest with you. I think I was getting not a lot of action trying to find a new lineup. It's not like it is today where people would be, killing each other for an opportunity like that. But I just lucked out, man. Right place at the right time, and there you go.
All right, so then kind of a short-lived involvement with them. I guess Chuck moved back to Florida at that point, and you stayed here. And then, as always, when bands split up like that, we're kind of graced because then, we have Autopsy. Then you went on to form Autopsy right at that time, or pretty close to that?
Yeah, well, there was a little gap where it's just kind of a lull in things, I wasn't quite sure what was going on with the whole Death thing, and I actually filled in with a band called Desecration. You might remember them from around here. They were looking for a drummer, and I was friends with Bob, the singer, and he said, "Hey, do you want to fill in on a couple shows?" So I said, "Yeah, I love the band. Again, I love the band. I've had the demos."
You're a fan.
So, yeah, I'm a fan of the music and the band, and so so we played a few shows together, the final 3 of the band's span, and shortly after that, I met Eric through Steve DiGiorgio from Sadist, a mutual friend, and we said, "Hey, let's start a band."
All right, so it was you and Eric, and then I guess Danny came in subsequently.
Well, it was me and Eric and a guy named Eric Igard, who was our first bass player. He was around for the first demo, and then he left the band. And shortly after that, we replaced him. We got a new bass player, and Danny joined the band. This was 1988 when that happened.
Okay. And was the plan from the beginning for you? It's kind of unusual to have drummers that sing as well, so was that something, or did you just no singers worked out and you just finally
worked out?
Tried singers?
No, not very much. We tried like a friend or two, and it just didn't work. So we said, all right,
I can do it.
If we're gonna have vocals, we better get on it, and figure this out. So Eric and I were both doing vocals, and he kind of got tired of doing the vocals, so I ended up just pretty much doing them all. But once in a while he'll do a little bit, and nowadays he does a little bit more once in a while if he's in the mood for it. But yeah, that's pretty much how that came about.
How is that drumming, and especially such extreme music that you guys play, and singing as well?
That's a workout.
Level of concentration, I guess.
Just not concentration, just seeing it through, man. I mean, you can't go a half hour or 6 songs or 7 songs, go, all right, I'm tired, I'm done. It's not an option, so just gotta see it through till it's over.
All right, so obviously you had a great early run with Autopsy, all those great classic albums and stuff like that, and then moving on down, you and Danny at some point, Autopsy was done, and you guys went to do Abscess. So what was the whole end of Autopsy, beginning of Abscess? And I guess you were doing that kind of as a side project before Autopsy quit, or was it pretty much a...
No, they bled over, but it was a serious band because Autopsy, we agreed to split up in '93, but we also said, hey, we have some new songs written. It would be a shame not to record those, even though we want to break up the band. We're like, let's go out strong, man. Let's record a final album and use those songs, write some new ones, fill it out, book a show, locally in San Francisco, and, say, hey, thanks, see you around, to everybody. And that was it. I think that was a good way to do it. So it was all meticulously planned, but between agreeing to end the band and doing these things, Abscess got going. So it was like the two were bleeding over for a minute. So
you obviously had a good relationship with Danny that you wanted to continue on and do something with him.
Did Abscess?
The riff man.
Like 15 years, and then we got the offer to play Maryland for Autopsy, and we talked about those guys for a while.
It'd been about a 15-year gap then, right?
Since a 15-year gap, and we figured, okay, everything lined up the right way. We figured we'd do it.
This was back maybe 2010?
That was 2009. We were agreeing to do the 2010 edition, and Abscess was still going at that time. So again, a little bit of a bleed over, but Abscess kind of folded right when Autopsy was getting kick-started again.
I guess it was a matter of getting Eric back in the fold, or how does the Autopsy reform after you guys disbanded in '93?
We were going to do both bands, and we weren't really having a plan to do a bunch of Autopsy stuff. We're like, we'll do a couple shows, and we didn't really have big plans for the future until Abscess broke up. Clint quit the band and went off and just kind of had enough of it, and that left the door open to get Autopsy going in high gear and record stuff. We started getting ideas for songs and things like that, and just kind of kept going. So here we are.
Yeah, it's like a Autopsy 2.0, I guess, kind of, huh?
Yeah, whatever you want to call it.
But it's very cool for someone like us who, missed those early days of Autopsy a little bit.
Thanks. Well,
getting a chance now.
Yeah, I mean, we're still kind of up to the same old stuff, if you want to call it that. kind of like a Motorhead kind of thing where you kind of know what you're going to get.
Put on that new Autopsy, you know what you're getting, and I agree, the new stuff has been just as brutal as the old stuff.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, we, play what we like to hear and play what we like to play, and, hopefully other people like it too. If not, then I'm going to tell you, it's going to happen anyways.
I'd like to ask about influences, maybe 2 ways, like early influences back when you were, getting ready to form or play music or whatever, and then maybe, I don't know if there's anybody today, newer bands that kind of get you going.
Oh man, the early influences, here's one of them. We liked the doomy stuff as well as the speedy death stuff. I mean, we like, Slayer and Death and, Possessed and all the normal things, Terrorizer, Master.
Were you close with the Possessed guys, being that they were local as well? Or
No, I met a couple of them once or twice, but we never really knew each other, not that much. But I would go see their shows and stuff, of course, like a lot of people. So a lot of stuff like that, and then also we sort of like doomy stuff like Black Sabbath and Trouble and Pentagram, Saint Vitus, Candlemass, Witchfinder General, and then a lot of like rock stuff too, like Frank Marino and Robin Trower and Cream and Alice.
Great guitar there.
Yeah, Frank Zappa and all sorts of The Residents, all these other weird things, and so it wasn't just like just death metal or whatever, our tastes were kind of weird.
And I guess part 2, like, if any current bands that are kind of into or like?
Nothing that shapes our sound. I mean, like when we first came around, all these Black Sabbath and, whatnot. I mean, it probably had a pretty direct effect on what we did. I mean, like to say we played what we want without sounding like anybody, but, that's the stuff we listen to a lot. And we still like all those things and a lot more things, but we're past a point where
like a lot of
influences are seeping in. We've already established what we do.
Yeah, a lot of old metalheads there's a certain point where it's like that was the kind of the dividing line, and everything since then you could listen to it, but it's not really going to influence you so much.
Yeah, I mean, I love new music though. I mean, I'm not one of those people.
Yeah, I was part of my question was bands that you just like,
Yeah, I don't say I don't like anything past 1986 or whatever. I mean, there's so many. You're missing out, man. I mean, fucking 2015, we got like, among other great underground releases, you get like new Iron Maiden, new Motorhead, new Raven, new Halloween, new Pentagram.
Those are all old bands, though.
I know they're all old bands, but their new stuff's fucking good. Yeah. But new bands, yeah, dude, there's, tons of stuff. I mean,
agreed. No, I agree.
Yeah. So
second, third generation death metal stuff and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, as long as you like put care into your riffs and don't just say I want to play fast or I want to play slow. Put care into the songwriting. That's what I like.
So what else is on the horizon for Autopsy and you guys, recording-wise, show-wise?
We have a mini LP or whatever the hell you want to call it, called Skull Grinder. And that's coming out in November. And Skull Grinder, yeah. And a box set called After the Cutting. That's like a 4 CD box set of all kinds of cool stuff. And
old and new stuff?
Yeah, old, new, and some unheard things. Hopefully some treats, that make it worth looking into. And it's got like a book in it, and it'll be really cool. And a few more shows. And so far, that's it. Making it up as we go.
One other question I like to ask. Musicians is drums. You have your particular certain drums or even mics since you're a singer?
I have my same favorites that haven't changed very much. There's a lot of drummers that are impressive and that I like, both old and new. You get blown away sometimes like, oh, they're so fast or so technical or whatever. But you don't see a lot in the way of the looseness and the creativity of a lot of the guys that I grew up listening to. Like Keith Moon is my favorite drummer. There's never been anyone like that before or since. There's been people that are great and whatever, but just the sheer animal mayhem, just the uncaring recklessness, but so
attacking the kit,
just destroying it, literally. I like Clive Burr, Dave Lombardo, a lot of jazz guys, Buddy Rich and Gene Krupa, and fucking, there's like so many. Max Roach, a bunch of guys like that. Bill Ward. Peter Criss, it goes on and on and on, but that's more like the kind of stuff I like. I'm not
all kind of distinctive guys too, right?
Yeah, I mean, like blasting as fast as you can is cool, but I don't know. It just doesn't have the soul for me. Even though I love a lot of bands that do that, but I don't know. Gotcha. I like the soul, man.
All right. Last thing I wanted to ask is Violation Wound. So you've seen some stuff from that, and anything,
last show, as a matter of
anything on the horizon for that, and so that's you play guitar and sing in that band. Yeah. So for those who are not in the know, so Violation Wound, anything going on with that, or?
We got a shit ton of releases coming up. We've got like splits and a double album, full-length CD coming out, and some compilation appearances.
How would you describe that music to those who maybe don't know about Violation Wound?
It's just pretty much like punk, like old. I know it's such a trendy thing to say now, it's become this whole thing, but
I'd say punk like I remember punk. There's a lot of stuff that's come out more recently that people would call punk that isn't punk to me, but
yeah,
you guys sound punk.
Old, but it's not like the crossover, death metal punk or whatever. It's just straight up old style punk rock. some speedy hardcore stuff in there too, a little bit. But when we first started it, I kind of was like wanting to hear sort of like the lost Mystic record band that Mystic Records band that you never heard, because there was always that. The Violation Moon?
No, I'm just saying the reaction you were looking for, right? Like, this is something old. Sorry, I threw you off.
Oh, no, that's okay. It just sounded like a good idea, something that would be cool to do. And, talked to a couple of friends about doing that. That'd be Matt O'Connell, who plays drums in Fog of War, and George Orteri, who used to play in Fog of War and Zombie Holocaust. So I kind of know those guys from the town we live in, and they were game for the idea, and
And you've been playing guitar for a long time as well as drums?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a virtuoso or I'm pretty cavemanish, but I've been playing guitar since probably like 1982 or something like that. Just mostly at home, not on the stage, but writing things for bands.
Maybe we could expect the solo Chris Reifert album. You could do drums, bass, and guitar. No.
I don't think so. I like the interaction with other musicians, and I don't know. I think I'm getting all my creativity out, and
great stuff.
Already, that's enough.
To say personally, the Autopsy and Abscess stuff for me was just, life-changing in a way. So it's great stuff. So
thank you, man. I appreciate that. I mean, we put a lot of energy into it, and try and work our asses off to make it cool and still have a good time.
All right. Well. Thanks for taking some time to be with us. Appreciate it. And anything else you wanted to add to Capital Chaos TV people out there?
Just thanks for supporting our weirdness, and fucking take it easy.
Check out Autopsy if you can.